Well, this week, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got caught performing more mask theater for the camera when she was outside the Capitol protesting, demanding more government handouts when somebody suggested that they take a photo. Little did she know the scene was already being recorded, so she put her mask on, but then as soon as the picture was done being taken, of course, the mask came back off.
Let's take a quick photo so we can keep the pressure up so other colleagues can come out here, yeah? Great.
Cori had to run to a hit.
But Cow Farts for Brains didn't win the Hypocrite of the Week award, despite being caught red-handed. She was upstaged by Democrat Congresswoman Cori, who openly admitted to spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on private security for herself, while at the same time demanding that we defund the police.
I'm going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets because we're trying to save lives.
But that's just a small sample of the insanity that's spreading across the country. In case you haven't heard, the CDC is now admitting that, and I'm going to have to quote them directly so I don't get accused of spreading medical misinformation. The CDC is admitting that fully vaccinated people are spreading, quote, similarly high viral loads of the coronavirus as unvaccinated people. In fact, here's the CDC director saying it herself.
Our vaccines are working exceptionally well. They continue to work well for Delta with regard to severe illness and death. They prevent it. But what they can't do anymore is prevent transmission.
So now the Facebook fact checkers are working overtime trying to give the false impression that fully vaccinated people aren't still spreading the coronavirus, particularly the Delta variant, which you just saw the CDC director admitted they are. PolitiFact has debunked the false claim that the CDC confesses the vaccines are failing and the vaccinated can be super spreaders. This is, in a sense, a fake fact check because it is essentially a distorted half-truth. The vaccine is effective at stopping most people from getting severely ill if they contract the coronavirus. That part of the fact check is true. But notice how they try to conflate it by making people think that it's also false that fully vaccinated people are not spreading the virus, which, of course, they are. The reason for most of the vaccine hesitancy isn't that people don't believe that the vaccine doesn't help to prevent severe illness or hospitalization if contracting the virus. It's that they're concerned about any possible long-term side effects from such a vaccine that hasn't been fully approved since the long-term trials haven't been completed yet. And not to sound like a broken record, I'm not telling people that they need to take the vaccine or that they shouldn't take the vaccine. I don't give medical advice. That's on you. Old Joe, however, has plenty of advice, and not just about the best flavor of ice cream.
I know I've said that constantly, and others have as well. The vaccination of the unvaccinated, and it's needless, taking a needless toll on our country.
Let me read from the transcript so I can try to understand this. The vaccination of the unvaccinated is taking its toll? Was that a Freudian slip, Old Joe, or just another dementia episode? Tell us, Mr. President, how many Americans are vaccinated now?
Well over, what's the number again? I have to remind myself, 350 million Americans have already been vaccinated. They're doing fine.
Someone who's not doing fine is you. There are only 330 million people in the United States. Well, I guess there are 330 million citizens. If you add the 20 million illegal aliens, that adds up to 350 million people, but that would mean that every single person here is vaccinated, and obviously, they're not. And we're not supposed to talk about what's happening at the southern border, which is why the liberal media industrial complex continues to just complain about Donald Trump 24/7, trying to keep people's eye off of the ball. But thankfully, we have people like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who Old Joe is criticizing because he won't force the kids to wear face diapers when they go back to school here in the next week or two.
Joe Biden has taken to himself to try to single out Florida over COVID. This is a guy who ran for president saying he was going to, quote, shut down the virus. And what has he done? He's imported more virus from around the world by having a wide open southern border. You have hundreds of thousands of people pouring across every month. And it's not just from Mexico. In fact, it's rarely from Mexico. You have over 100 different countries where people are pouring through. Not only are they letting them through, they're then farming them out all across our communities across this country, putting them on planes, putting them on buses. Do you think they're being worried about COVID for that? Of course not. So why don't you do your job? Why don't you get this border secure? And until you do that, I don't want to hear a blip about COVID from you. Thank you.
People are so tired of the Democrats' hypocrisy that pollster Frank Luntz told CNN to stop interviewing Dr. Fauci because he turned so many people off.
And Anderson, I'm going to tell you something which probably you don't want to hear, but I'd rather see Tom Frieden on this show than Anthony Fauci on this show, because Fauci's become so politicized, so polarized, that every time he speaks, he actually turns off people.
He went on to say perhaps the most truthful thing that had ever been uttered aloud on CNN.
We have so destroyed our democracy. We have done so much damage to this country. It's one of the reasons why I had to get out.
Yes, you professional liars have ruined the country. And notice how he admitted that he fled. And he's not the only one. Billionaire co-founder of Google, Larry Page, also fled the country and is now a resident of New Zealand and has been living out the pandemic in Fiji. He probably knows what's coming this fall and winter with Lockdown 2.0 and the Marxist foot soldiers continuing to act up and the Black Lives Matter terrorists and hyperinflation and the Great Reset, but that's a subject for a whole other video. But back to the vaccine hesitancy that the media won't stop hyperventilating about. Most of the reason for that is the media themselves and their failure to actually address people's legitimate concerns about any possible unforeseen, undetected, long-term side effects from a vaccine that still hasn't been fully approved by the FDA. Not to mention, they're solely blaming the unvaccinated people for spreading the coronavirus, when, as you saw, the CDC director admits that fully vaccinated people can contract the virus, although their chances of severe illness and death are greatly diminished, but they can, if they contract it, still spread the virus with, quote, a similarly high viral load as those who are unvaccinated. And again, I'm not telling people whether or not I have or have not been vaccinated or what they should or shouldn't do, because I don't want other people making their decision based upon my decisions. One thing I do know, however, is that Dr. Fauci should be arrested. This is the lead doctor giving our country advice about the pandemic and masks and vaccines. Dr. Flip-Flopper, Dr. Wuhan Lab Thunder Fauci, he should be arrested for perjury at the very least. And if you agree and want to spread the word, order my new Arrest Dr. Fauci shirt from my online store at markdice.com. Like all of my designs, it's available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check it out.